Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of NFL Central. I can't even believe we're already at our second week of this. This is exciting. Before I get into this, all the stuff about the NFL, I would like to remind you to comment and like this video and also subscribe to this channel. It would really help. My goal right now is 100 and then to finally get to 1,000 so I can monetize this channel and start making money on it. That would be really helpful. So tell your friends, tell your family, or anybody you know that likes football, and just tell them about this place. And that's it. Thank you. All right, so first thing on the agenda today is to recap Week 7 of the NFL. So the first game we're going to talk about is Thursday Night Football, Giants at the Eagles. The Eagles won this game 22-21. The highlight of this game is obviously Daniel Jones tripping on his 80-yard almost touchdown run. This was really embarrassing for Daniel Jones, and what people don't actually know is that he threw a touchdown at the end of this drive anyway, so it didn't really hurt them. It was just a great piece of entertainment for everybody to watch. I do feel bad for him, though. That was rough. But that was the highlight of the game. Probably, unfortunately, it might be one of the highlights of his career, but let's hope not. Also in this game, Carson Wentz had another comeback. I don't know how the Giants managed to blow this lead. The Evan Ingram drop on third down, that was a really big part of it. I'll show it right here. It's awful. I can't imagine how anybody drops that perfect of a pass. But all people hear now is that Daniel Jones choked this game away. Carson Wentz had an okay game. He had a great fourth quarter. He threw in an amazing pass to Boston Scott to end the game, but Boston Scott made an even better catch. I'll show that here too. Unbelievable. That was an amazing catch. But all in all, it was a really good game. But the NFC East is trash. It's awful. This division is embarrassing. I think the Eagles are going to win it, but we'll get into that later, but it's just embarrassing. Next game I'm going to talk about is the Panthers at the Saints. The Saints won 27-24. This game was a good game. The Saints really dominated the whole way through, although they didn't look great. They kind of looked off. The Saints don't look as good as they should be, but they still won because the Panthers are pretty mediocre. The Panthers could have tied the game at the end, but they tried to kick a 65-yard field goal, which would have been a record by 2 yards, and the kicker, Sly, he missed it by 1 yard. 1 yard, so close, almost sent it to overtime, but was not meant to be. Also, another thing we have to talk about with the Saints is Michael Thomas, but I'll get into that later, but there's a lot of tension and weird stuff going on with Michael Thomas. The next game we'll talk about is the Bills at the Jets. Now, the Bills won 18-10. And if you didn't know that score beforehand, you would probably be thinking, why did the Jets keep it so close? What's wrong with the Bills? And you'd be right. The Bills seem like they're in trouble. They scored all field goals. Every single one of the points scored in this game was from a field goal. That cannot happen against the Jets. The Jets are terrible. Their defense is awful. So Josh Allen, who was an MVP frontrunner at the beginning of the year, couldn't even score a touchdown. Something's going on with the Bills these last 3 weeks. It's weird. I don't know. Another story about this game was that Adam Gase, the Jets head coach, gave up his play calling duties on offense this game, and it didn't seem to really help. They only scored 10 points, so maybe Adam Gase is not completely the problem. He's obviously part of the problem. Maybe he's not completely the problem. I'll talk more about the Jets later, about what their final record might be, and I think you know where I'm going with that, but we'll talk about that later. The next game I'll talk about is the Browns at the Bengals. The Browns won this game 37-34, and this personally was my favorite game of the week. This was unbelievable. It seems like this might be one of the new fun rivalries we'll get to watch with the Browns versus the Bengals, like the great game they had week 2, but more importantly, the battle of the 2 first-round picks, the first picks overall, actually, from 2018 and 2020, of Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow. These two both played phenomenal games against each other. Joe Burrow threw for 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. Baker Mayfield threw for 5 touchdowns, 297 yards, and 1 interception. Crazy, and I will talk more about Baker's game later. This was awesome. Probably the biggest story that actually came out of this game, though, is that Odell Beckham Jr. has torn his ACL and is out for the year. So he will be without the Browns. And I can talk about him later, too, because it really seems like the writing is on the wall. He is not going to be on the Browns next year. That experiment has failed. it didn't work out. It's okay. They'll probably both be better without each other anyway. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Cowboys at the Washington football team. Washington won this game 25-3, and the Cowboys have had a new level of embarrassment. They are awful. Okay, scoring 10 points against the Cardinals and getting blown out by them, embarrassing, but the Cardinals they're a fine team. Washington is a different story. Only putting up 3 points on the Washington football team is embarrassing. Having the Washington football teams put up 25 points on you is embarrassing. Mike Nolan needs to be fired. Like I know it's not even half point of the year, but he needs to go. It's awful. He's terrible. And then in the interview after the game, he had to cut the interview short because he rubbed his eye and he got Tabasco sauce in his eye. It's so indicative of the Cowboys season. They're a completely garbage organization this year. Jerry Jones needs to fire himself as GM, obviously, because he's given no offensive line help, and obviously his defense is trash. The Cowboys have completely fallen apart. I'd be shocked if they won more than like 5 games this year. And then the biggest story of this game was probably Andy Dalton getting his head taken off. And then after that happened, the player who knocked Andy Dalton's head off with the cheap shot, a really dirty hit, the Cowboys players did nothing. Nothing. They didn't go after the guy, which they should have. They did nothing. They just stood there like, what are they doing? You can't do that. They literally just took your quarterback's head off on a cheap shot. There was a flag thrown. Go take that guy's head off. The Cowboys have given up. They've given up. They don't care. That's what you take from that. They've given up. The Cowboys are awful. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Packers at the Texans. The Packers won 35-20. The Packers just beat up on another bad team. I'm not that impressed after what I watched against the Bucs with the Packers, so not that impressed. They just beat up on the Texans. Okay, good job. Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns. All right, the Texans suck. Good job. Devontae Adams, though, he had a great game. I was impressed with that. Unbelievable first half. That was impressive, but Packers have not impressed me with that win. The Texans were terrible. The next game I'll talk about is the Lions at the Falcons. The Lions won this game 23-22, and if you guess, you would know the Falcons blew another lead. And it was because Todd Gurley scored a touchdown. Yep, you heard that right. Todd Gurley scored a touchdown, and that set up the Lions to be able to go and win the game. I'll play the clip here. Todd Gurley was running, realized that he shouldn't score the touchdown so they could waste more clock so that Matthew Stafford wouldn't have any time to come back, but he stopped too late and scored a touchdown, and that gave just enough time for Matthew Stafford to throw a touchdown pass on the last play of the game and win the game by a point. It's not Todd Gurley's fault, though. I don't like hearing Falcons fans blame this on Todd Gurley. It's the defense's fault. There was like a minute left for Matthew Stafford to make this comeback, and they still lost. The Falcons' defense is trash. The fact that they hired their defensive coordinator to be their head coach and not Dirk Koetter, who has been a head coach in the past, makes no sense. That shows Arthur Blank's incompetence. Something needs to change with the Falcons. I don't know what at this point. Probably just clean house and start over, which will suck for Falcons fans, but there needs to be a change of scenery and culture in that place, and it needs to happen. Last thing about this game is that Matthew Stafford has still got it. He's made some unbelievable throws at awesome arm angles that if Patrick Mahomes would have made, all the announcers would have gone nuts. So Matthew Stafford still got it. Still elite. The next game I will talk about is the Steelers at the Titans. This was a big game for both teams, and the Steelers dominated the whole game. They completely shut down Derrick Henry. The Titans came back in the fourth quarter, almost winning the game, but Steven Gostkowski missed the field goal to tie it and send it to overtime. The Titans are obviously good, but the Steelers are really good. And Ben Roethlisberger didn't even play a good game. They're winning in spite of him. That defense, awesome. Shut down Derrick Henry, that's an accomplishment in itself. But to just shut down that entire team, defense is awesome. Steelers running game is awesome. Steelers wide receivers are awesome. And Ben Roethlisberger is still good. He just had a bad game. So watch out for the Steelers this year. The next game I'll talk about is the Buccaneers at Raiders. Buccaneers won this game 45-20. It was close for a while, and then the Buccaneers completely took off. I'll talk about Brady later because he had a phenomenal game, but for right now, let's just talk about the Buccaneers defense. They are for real. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, has crafted a unbelievable defense. Their front seven is so fast. They're so quick. They blitz the heck out of you. The Buccaneers defense is a Super Bowl winning defense. So get ready for that. I'll talk about the Raiders now. The Raiders started strong, but their defense was really different. The defense has been their problem the whole year. The offense is fine. They score enough points to win. Their defense just gives up way too many points, as you can see with 45 points being put up. Gronk is back. Gronk has had 2 good games in a row now, which leads me into my next point that Tom Brady is modifying Bruce Arians' offense. Like they're working together and kind of mixing what worked for both of them into one super offense, because Bruce Arians doesn't really like to throw to the tight ends, but Brady loves to throw to the tight ends. So it's like a vertical tight end threat. So now it's combined and Gronk is back. Watch out for the Buccaneers. It's going to be good. Next game I'll talk about is the Chiefs at the Broncos. The Chiefs won this game 43-16. Mahomes looked pretty mediocre, actually. The Chiefs won not because of Mahomes, but because of their run game and their defense. Drew Lock did not look that good. 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. He better start playing better, or John Elway will move off of another quarterback and try to draft another one in the draft. The Chiefs' defense and rushing attack is hitting full swing, and the Chiefs are winning because of it, not because of Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy to say, but Patrick Mahomes has a fantastic team, and he doesn't need to do it all. Next game I'll talk about is the Jaguars at the Chargers. The Chargers won this game 39-29. It was close, really, the whole game. It was good that Herbert got his first win. He had a great game, another great game. He's having a really good rookie season. I don't think it'll last into next year, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Herbert's having a great rookie year. But really, the big thing is talking about Minshew. The Jaguars have threatened to bench him if he doesn't play that well. But what they don't realize is out of all the problems that the Jaguars have, he is not one of them. He is playing fine. It would actually be better for Minshew to go somewhere else. So maybe it would just be good for Minshew to get benched. Next game I'll talk about is the 49ers at the Patriots. This was ugly. This was the 3rd consecutive loss for the New England Patriots. First time that's happened since 2002. I will talk about Bill Belichick later and this Patriots team and what's going on. But we'll talk about the 49ers mainly right now. They're really deep at running back. Their offensive line is awesome. And Jimmy G is really inconsistent but does just enough to win. So I would watch out for the 49ers. They're kind of a sneaky sleeper team. For late in the year, they might sneak into the playoffs. We'll see. But the Patriots look rough. Cam Newton looks rough. Their defense looks rough. Everything about the Patriots looks rough. And I'll get into more about that later. Next game I'll talk about is the Seahawks at the Cardinals. This was an amazing game, too. The Cardinals won 37-34, and it went to overtime, and it went back and forth, and the quarterbacks were throwing interceptions. Russell Wilson threw 3 picks in this game and 3 touchdowns. Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson looked like the same human being out there. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but it was a phenomenal game that Kyler Murray won the game for them. I guess you could say maybe Russell Wilson lost the game, but Kyler Murray had a better game than Russell Wilson, and that's the Cardinals won because of it. Last game of the week was the Bears at the Rams, and we really learned about 2 things about this game. The Rams are good and for real, and the Bears are probably not, but their defense is for real. The Bears offense, I don't know what's going on. Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky obviously aren't the answer, so they'll need to get a new QB in the offseason next year because they cannot waste this defense. This defense is so good, but nothing really interesting came out of that game. Now we will jump into our news, analysis, and hot take section. First bit of news is what I covered at the end of the last episode. Antonio Brown has been signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this is huge for the Buccaneers. They said that he's an insurance policy. That's what Bruce Arians has said. But if you don't know, the number 2 receiver for the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin, just broke his finger and will be out for at least 1 week. And Antonio Brown makes his debut in week 9, so he might be their number 2 receiver. Antonio Brown knows this offense. He's played with Bruce Arians before, so it's not going to be that much of a learning curve. Antonio Brown has obviously kept himself in shape. He is crazy, but he also is crazy about football. I think this will work out, and there's really no risk for the Buccaneers. They signed him to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal that is, like, it's all incentives, so they can cut him loose anytime they want with pretty much no financial, like, backdraw about this. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. He will start practice Wednesday, and as I said, he will debut week 9 if all goes well with reinstatements and anything else that happens. If all goes well, he'll play week 9 against the Saints. Yannick Ngakoue was traded to the Ravens for a 3rd round and 5th round pick. I don't think this is really that big of a deal. I think the Ravens will stay relatively the same. The Vikings got a 3rd and 5th. I think that's probably the big thing about this. There are rumors of the Patriots wanting to trade Stephon Gilmore. I sincerely disagree. If they are actually considering doing this, they should not. But that's what I've heard, and I've heard that the Bears are the front runners to try to trade for him before the deadline. Now, I'll start talking about Michael Thomas. There seems to be a rift between the Saints organization and Michael Thomas. I don't know what happened, but he's missed 4 games at this point now, I think, and one wasn't because of injury. He got sent home. There's something going on there. So I think he might get traded before the deadline, and I think the Patriots are the front runner there. They need a receiver really, 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 really bad. They have no deep threats. So I think the Patriots might be out there to try to trade for him, but we'll see. The New York Jets. Are they going to go 0-16? I think so. They're awful. Head coaching, awful. Offense, awful. Defense, awful. Special teams, awful. Management, awful. Ownership, awful. Everything's bad. I honestly think they're going to go 0-16, and I pity the person who gets drafted by them. Like I said last episode, if it's Trevor Lawrence, I would say I'm not playing for the Jets. I would go somewhere else. So, Jets, I think they might go 0-16. I have them going 0-16 right now. Now I'll talk about the MVP race. Russell Wilson was the clear front runner for a long time, but he just opened the door with his game against the Cardinals. He threw 3 interceptions and 3 touchdowns, but the 3 interceptions really hurt him and opened the door for guys like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Even Kyler Murray might get his name thrown around now. I don't think Kyler Murray should win it. He's thrown 13 touchdowns and 7 picks. Way too many picks for me to give him the award, but we'll see. He opened the door. Now it's an actual race to the MVP. I will now talk about Baker Mayfield. Now this was unbelievable. One of my favorite things that happened this week. He started the game 0 for 5 with 1 interception. His first pass was an interception, and Odell Beckham Jr. got hurt on that interception, tearing his ACL. He then finished the game with 5 touchdown passes and went 22 for 23, 21 consecutive completions, which is a Browns franchise record now. The one incompletion that he threw was the spiked ball at the end of the game. So he really completed 22 for 22 with the spiked ball. So he was perfect at the end of the game. I think he's back. I think that gave him a lot of confidence. The coach believed in him. He threw to win the game. They finally put it on Baker Mayfield, and he was able to deliver. But a big question is Baker better without OBJ? I think so. It seems like it. Rookie year, didn't have him, played awesome. When he got him his next year, Baker threw 22 touchdowns and 21 picks. I think he feels like he has to get him the ball, and that put a lot more pressure and tension on Baker Mayfield than needed to be there. I think now that OBJ is out for the year, it's a real shame for OBJ, but I think it's going to actually help the Browns because Baker Mayfield trusts the other receivers more. I think he's more comfortable without OBJ having to worry about forcing the ball to him. So I think Baker's back. Joe Burrow, He's for real. He should get Rookie of the Year. He really should. He's so much better than Justin Herbert. He just has a much worse team. He threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. He has thrown, I think, 5 consecutive 300 yards plus in a game for the past 5 weeks. He needs to get Rookie of the Year. He's in the top 5 for passing yards in the whole NFL. He's really good. He's for real. I'll talk about Tom Brady now. 4 touchdowns and 1 rushing TD against the Las Vegas Raiders. My bad. He is now the number 2, MVP frontrunner. Russell Wilson's still number 1, but barely. But Tom Brady's coming at him with number 2. He is number 2 in passing touchdowns. He has a lot of yards. I think he's number 6 in yards, and he's only getting better. So I would watch out for him for a late MVP push. He is also first all-time in touchdown passes ever in the NFL. So that is exciting as well. So he finally passed Drew Brees. And then I think this is a good segue to go into what's up with Bill Belichick. He can't draft wide receivers. He needs to get one before the deadline. His big problem is he does not know how to draft skill position players. He also apparently is not good at picking out a good free agent quarterback, because Cam Newton looks like that's not working out, which I'll get into him in a little bit. It's just Bill Belichick needs some skill positions bad, and his defense isn't that great. That's why I'm so shocked that they're thinking about trading away Stephon Gilmore, because he's the best player on their defense. Won Defensive Player of the Year last year. Now I'll talk about Brady and Belichick together. There's a question flying around a lot right now of who's responsible for that dynasty. I think they both are. I'm not ready to make a decision on who was more integral to that yet, because it's only been 7 games. It's looking like it's in Brady's favor, but I'm not going to speak too soon on that. It is a testament to Brady, though, that team, the Patriots, is garbage. And it's been that team. It's been the same team since 2018. It's been that team. There's very little change. And Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with that team in 2018 and went 12-4 the next year with that. That is so impressive. Tom Brady is a phenomenal quarterback. If you don't think he's the greatest of all time now, you're kidding yourself, or you're a hater, because it's so unbelievable. And now he's changing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been a historically awful franchise, had the most consecutive losses of all time in their history, and now they're a real contender for the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's amazing. The big question also is that, did Bill Belichick need Brady? Did Brady need Belichick? We'll see. It doesn't look like Brady really needed Belichick, but looks like Belichick might have needed Brady. But again, I'm not going to make a decision yet. But also, what do you think? Comment below and tell me what you think. Is it Brady? Is it Belichick? Or is it both of them? What do you think? Comment below. I will talk about Cam Newton now. He's awful. Yeah, I said it. He's awful. I don't understand why people were so hyped about him early in the year. His stats were not that good. He threw 2 touchdowns and 2 picks at the beginning of the year. Okay, that's not that good. Everybody was freaking out about it. This last game, he threw 3 interceptions. On the year now, he has 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That is terrible. And in the last 2 years combined, he has 4 touchdowns and 14 picks. Cam Newton is not good anymore. He is never going to recapture that 2015 form. I'm sick of people waiting for that. People telling me that, he's still a starter in this league. No, he's not. He's not. It's over. The Cam Newton experiment is over. Patriots need to get a QB in the draft or for free agency if there's a good enough one next year. But the Cam Newton experiment has failed. You can't blame how his play has gone on COVID, because they said he was asymptomatic, so obviously he should be fine. And I know everybody would bring up the Seahawks game. They'd be like, well, he played good in the Seahawks game. The Seahawks have the second worst defense in the NFL. Seriously. Anybody can do good against that defense in the NFL. It was not that impressive. He's terrible. Now I'll talk about Philadelphia Eagles. They are 5-10-1. I'm just kidding. They're not 5. Sorry, my bad. Not 5-10-1. I think they'll win the division at 5-10-1. Right now, they're 2-4-1, I believe. I think they'll win the division at 5-10-1. That was the point of this. I think that they're going to win the division at 5-10-1, which would be the worst record ever for a division winner, and they would host a playoff game. Like, whoever wins in the NFC East, whoever wins that division, will host a playoff game. That's crazy because the NFC East is so awful. I'll talk about Tua Tagovailoa again now. I am really excited to see what he does. I don't think he's going to win, but he reminds me a lot of Joe Montana. Not really that big of an arm, but he's really mobile in the pocket and really accurate and loves short passes. I'm excited to see what he does. I think he's going to play big against the Rams. I just don't think he's going to win because of Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on the defense of the Rams. And that's all the news and analysis of today. My hot take of the day is that the Cowboys will only win one more game and finish last in the division. So if you disagree with me, comment below. You tell me what your hot take is. Now let's shift to the third segment, which is the ranking segment. I'll start out with the quarterback rankings. Top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now. Number 10 is Josh Allen. Now, last week he was number 6, and he has fallen 4 spots because of his terrible game against the Jets. He has gotten worse every week for the last 3 weeks. So I think he's going to fall out of the top 10 this next week. But the only reason he's in there is because of his beginning of the games. He's still got a really good stat line, but he's about to fall out for me. Number 9, Joe Burrow. Now, he wasn't in the list last week, but with how he's been playing, with all the yards that he's been putting up, I had to put him in here. There's not really much to talk about other than his yards, his touchdowns, and his play. He's playing like a veteran. It's really impressive. Number 8 is Derek Carr. Last week he was 7, so he's fallen 1 place because of his game against the Buccaneers. He started off strong but couldn't really finish it, so that's why he falls 1 spot. Number 7 is Kyler Murray. He wasn't on the list last week, but that game against the Seahawks just skyrocketed his rank for me. He played a phenomenal game. He's starting to kind of cut down on the interceptions, which is good, so I see improvement. So that's why he's number 7 for me. Number 6 is Jared Goff. Last week he was 8 for me, and he's now gone up 2 spots because he still played really consistent against the Bears. That defense is really, really, really good, and the fact that he played awesome against them shows me that he's deserving to go up 2 spots. Number 5 is Ryan Tannehill. He wasn't on the list last week, but he should have been. And I recognize that, and I put him in the 5 spot because he's playing lights out. He's playing awesome. Obviously, the Dolphins were the problem. He's really good. It's shocking, but he's really good. Number 4 is Aaron Rodgers. He was also 4 last week. He doesn't really move. Like I said earlier, beating the Texans, I don't think it's that impressive. He played well, though. Number 3 is Patrick Mahomes. Last week he was number 2, but that game against the Broncos was not really that great, not really that impressive. And number 2 played much better than him, so I had to move him up. And I didn't want to do it, but Mahomes did not play great, very mediocre. Number 2 is Tom Brady. Now, I know I said I probably wouldn't be moving him any higher up on the list unless he went off. Well, guess what? He went off. He played awesome. He's number 2 quarterback in the league right now, only behind Russell Wilson, and he is coming for Russell Wilson's spot at the number 1. But I'll say it again. I don't think he's going to catch Russell Wilson. 43 years old, still doubt it a little bit. Might put my foot in my mouth there, but I think Russell's going to hold on to the number 1 spot the whole year. The people who fell out of the list was Deshaun Watson, not a great game against the Packers. Matt Ryan, not a great game against the Lions. And Ben Roethlisberger fell out, 3 interceptions, can't do it. So they fell out. Now I'll get to the team rankings. The number 10 team for me is the Buffalo Bills. They're 5-2, and they've gotten worse every week, only beating the Jets by 8 points. They're about to fall out of the top 10. If they lose next week to the New England Patriots, they fall out of the top 10. Last week they are 6. They've fallen 4 spots, so watch out for them to keep falling. Number 9 is the Browns. They are also 5-2. Last week they weren't on the list, but that game against the Bengals and me thinking that Baker Mayfield is finally back to his original form, I think they're a top 10 football team. Also, that running attack is fantastic. And Nick Chubb will be back after the bye, so the Browns are going to be good. Number 8 is the Rams. They are also 5-2, and they weren't on the list last week, but that win against that Bears defense, that put them at number 8. They're a top 10 team. They could even go higher up on the list. Number 7 is the Green Bay Packers. They were number 9 last week, but seeing how bad the Bears played and how they dominated the Texans, which I don't think was impressive, but I still think they're better than the Rams, Browns, and Bills, so they went up on the list. They went up 2. Number 6 is the Ravens. They're 5-1. They went up 1 just because of how bad some teams play. They were on a bye this week, so they just went up by default. They're 5-1. Number 5 is the Seattle Seahawks. They went down 3. They were number 3 they went down 2. They were number 3 last week, and that loss to the Cardinals really lowered their stock with how well the Steelers and Titans have played against each other as well. So Seahawks went down 2 for me. Number 4 is the Titans. Last week they were 5, so they went up. Even though they lost, they went up because they played really well against the Steelers, which leads me to number 3, which is the Steelers. Steelers won. They're the only undefeated team left, actually, and they're really good. Look for them to go up on the list, too, as well. Number 2 is the Buccaneers. They're 5-2, and they are inching closer and closer and closer to that number 1 spot. They were number 2 last week, so they don't move up. And number 1 is the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 6-1. Last week they were 1. But if they falter at all, watch out for the Buccaneers to take that number 1 spot. Now we get into our final segment of the day, the Week 8 predictions. So let's jump right into it. The Falcons play at Carolina against the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to kill the Falcons. Falcons' confidence is at an all-time low right now, and the Panthers are feeling pretty good about getting really close to the Saints, so I think the Panthers are going to kill them. The Vikings are playing in Green Bay against the Packers. I think the Packers won a close game here. It was close last time. Vikings are terrible, but it's a rivalry, and I think they'll play close with the Packers. The Titans are playing in Cincinnati against the Bengals. I think the Titans are going to kill the Bengals. Titans are just a much better football team. The Bengals, they just don't have the talent to compete with them yet. They don't have the coaching yet. Maybe next year, but the Titans are going to kill them. The Jets are playing at the Chiefs. Do I even have to say who's going to win this game? Obviously the Jets. I'm kidding. The Chiefs are going to kill these guys. It's not even going to be close. The Chiefs could play their backups and they'd still win. Next game is the Colts and the Lions. They're playing in Detroit, and I think the Colts are going to win a close one here. Detroit could actually pull out this upset. I think it depends on what Phillip Rivers shows up. If Phillip Rivers throws north of 2 interceptions, then the Lions really could win this football game. But if Phillip Rivers plays okay, then the Colts will win because their defense and offensive line is phenomenal. Now, here's a big game. The Steelers are playing in Baltimore against the Ravens. I think the Steelers are actually going to kill the Ravens. I think they'll shut down Lamar Jackson, and they won't know what to do with themselves after that. So I have the Steelers winning big against Baltimore. Rams are playing at the Dolphins, and this is Tua Tagovailoa's debut. I think the Rams are going to win a close one here. Tua will keep it close. Defense on the Dolphins will keep it close. But eventually I think that the reason the Rams will win will be because the defense will shut down the rookie quarterback. It's the rookie's first game. I don't think he's going to get it on the Rams. The Patriots play at the Bills. This is big for both teams. I honestly think the Patriots are going to win a close one here. I don't think Bill Belichick loses 4 in a row, and I do not like what I see from the Bills. But if the Bills win, it is officially panic time in New England. Next game is the Raiders at the Browns. I think the Browns win a close one here. Raiders could very well win this game. I'll take the Browns, though, because I think Baker Mayfield is feeling confident. That running game is good. I'm worried about the Browns' defense, so I think it's going to be a shootout. But I think this is going to be a good game. I think Baker Mayfield's going to win. The Chargers are playing at the Broncos. I think the Chargers are going to win a close one here, but I actually think the Broncos could very well win this game, so I would watch out for that. I'll take the Chargers, though, just because I think their quarterback is going to play better, their wide receivers are going to play better, and their defense is going to play better, I think. Now, the Saints are playing at the Bears, and I think the Bears are actually going to win this one. I think the defense is going to shut down Alvin Kamara and Drew Brees. I think that the offense is going to have something to prove, so I think they'll put up at least 20 points. So I think the Bears get the win here, mainly because their defense, and Drew Brees is old. The 49ers are playing at the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks win a close one here. 49ers could very well win, but I think the Seahawks are going to win because they'll shut down Jimmy G. I really don't trust Jimmy G. So I think the 49ers will lose because of Jimmy G. The Cowboys are playing at the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to kill them because the Cowboys are awful. So are the Eagles, but the Cowboys are a different level of awful this year. So that's that. And finally, on Monday Night Football, we get the Buccaneers at the Giants. I think the Buccaneers are going to kill the Giants. Feel bad for the Giants, not really, but I think the Buccaneers are going to kill them. And so that wraps up the Week 8 predictions. And that really wraps up the show. I'll give you my weekly Super Bowl pick. Still think it's going to be the Chiefs and Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers will win. That was my preseason pick, so I'm going to stick with that. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me. Again, if you made it this far, please subscribe, like, and comment on this video. I would really appreciate it. Goal is 1,000 subscribers so I can start making money on this. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Again, subscribe. Bye. See you next week.